Hey, Laura.
Hi there.
Laura, tell folks a little bit about you, and then I want to drop you into the first hypothetical situation.
Great.
So, who are you?
Who am I? I'm Laura Bassett. I am a fractional CMO, which basically means that I step in and help companies get their marketing in order from strategy to execution. Um, what else about me?
Who do you normally
I
work
have,
with?
go
Like,
ahead.
what kinds of companies?
Yeah, so my background is with B2B SaaS companies.
Okay.
So, really focused on customer experience and AI solutions that help marketing, help customer experience
Right.
uh, be delivered more effectively for B2C companies. So,
Hmm.
typically, I've worked with vendors that are B2B SaaS vendors delivering customer experience and AI driven solutions.
All right. So, here's my first hypothetical. Okay. I imagine, like most of us in this field, I am not a fractional CMO, but adjacent sort of. Most of our clients are virtual, but in this scenario, you're about to have a very long day, and in the first part of the day, your brand new client. It's Monday. Today's day one, first time ever working with them, first engagement ever, first project. Okay,
Okay.
they're only 5 minutes from your house, so you're actually going to walk into the building. So you walk into the building at 9 a.m. First day, fractional CMO. Okay, what's the nightmare scenario you're walking into? What's the dream scenario you're walking into?
So, it's like you had a camera on my life about 3 weeks ago.
There you go.
So I would say I walked into the dream scenario.
Hmm,
There was a initial meetup time with the CEO, the
right.
head of sales, and the lead from a marketing agency. And this company had built the dream team to come in and take them from what I would say has been a referral growth business
Right. To more
to
purposeful outbound.
a go-to-market engine driven growth business, right? So key to this, all the players in the room, let's sit down and do some initial digging from the get-go, get some of that intense discovery, ensure we have alignment and a cohesive team with that is willing and wanting to collaborate, all focused on the same goals.
All right. And what's the nightmare scenario?
So the nightmare, and this is probably more typical, is I would walk in and they'd say, "Okay, go ahead and have a seat. Let us know what you need."
Right.
Right now, I would be prepared for that. I would say, "Okay, well, do we have calendars cleared?" I would have beforehand made sure that we had
Yeah.
calendars cleared and been ready to have some different discussions. But if I were to pile on to that nightmare scenario, we don't have really an organized meetup with the right people. It would be that when we did get in a room, they might come and they might say, "Okay, so what campaigns are we going to start?" Because it's always about so much more
Right.
than just a campaign.
All right. Good. Okay. So tell me this. You've been there for, we're going to jump ahead a little bit before we get back to our hypothetical day. You've been there
Okay.
like about 90 days. You're on site again. You're walking down the hall, and someone in leadership says, "Hey, I was thinking about you last night. We're having a discussion, and I realized like the value prop and why we brought you in, but I didn't really have the aha moment for like the value about this until last night. It took about 3 months of like seeing you in action. What's the aha moment when they hire a fractional CMO or you?
Yeah. So,
What do they get finally that they didn't get before?
I think that one of the things that I've actually heard is that it's really like that aha moment is, doing this as fractional actually makes sense. I can't
Right.
even tell that you are not a full-time CMO because they kind of woke up and they realized, wow, these teams are aligned, they're empowered, and they are focused on the right things because I've been able to take away the distractions of
Right.
engaging marketing and everything else the company does to engaging marketing on their specific goals. And I'll go back to the word I used a second ago, empowered them to own those things and deliver them, understanding what the value and benefit to the business is.
Okay, good. Okay, so it's about 11 a.m. now, and they knew ahead of time you were going to have to leave by around 11 because you have to drive downtown. And what's happened is you're going on stage. There's a big conference downtown at a big hotel. There's going to be booths and stuff outside, but you're on stage as a keynote, and you're talking to 250 people. They all just came out of corporate yesterday, and today is their first day as fractional CMOs. So you're going to give them a little talk about what it's like kicking off as a fractional CMO. Okay. So the first,
Okay.
and so I'm just going to give you 3 sentences, and you can just finish the sentence with as long, as many words as you need to get the point across. And teach these like unsuspecting people what they're about to face. So you say like, starting out as a fractional CMO, the thing you're going to be most surprised by is
Starting out, the thing you're going to be most surprised by is really that for most of what you do as a fractional CMO, it's a lot often not about what you actually do, but what you help the team stop doing, right? Stop doing the wrong things. Stop the madness of one-off technology, right? Don't get distracted by the shiny object. It's really, and it's probably not surprising that many businesses are in this state,
Mhm.
but it's how quickly solving some of the wrong things that they're doing actually can make a shift and a change in not only productivity, but mindset and motivation, right? And then by doing that and really understanding what they have as a baseline or cleaning up that baseline, they can see that you're enabling them to make impact as individuals into the organization. And that's really the surprising part is if done right and methodically, right, you're able to really take them from a point of disarray, for lack of a better word, to productivity, to alignment. I mean, people alignment, another surprising piece, people alignment seems like it, and this is in so many companies, it could take 80% of the energy, right, from the
Right.
beginning, really getting them aligned and bought in, right? And once you fix those things, you begin to take that kind of chaos to a productivity that enables people to be more self-motivated, honestly.
Okay, so good answer. I agree. And so further on down the speech, you're talking to these folks, and you're going to say, "Look, something else that I might as well tell you now. You get out there, many clients just don't understand what."
Great question. Many clients just don't understand that you can't come in and launch a campaign on day one. I could put a hard stop there, but I'm going to expand on it a little bit. So that's really it first and foremost, right? It's amazing how many CEOs want that,
Right.
and it really delays getting the foundation in place, creating the strategy that then you deliver with a plan, an execution plan. But it's more, marketing is more than campaigns, right? It's the positioning, it's prioritization, it's how do you market as a company, right? Not in one-off campaigns, right? But it's truly incredible how many clients really don't understand that it's not just about launching a campaign, right? You have to have a product and a message that makes sense. You have to uh, stay focused on creating a discipline and learning and improving on what you're doing to create leads for the business, right? Um, and so what the other thing that clients really don't understand from that is that this is actually why fractional makes even more sense, because it's a forcing function for
Right.
just that, for creating that focus, for um, creating a small but mighty team that's intensely focused and therefore can really bring those deliverables. Because really what I do is I go in and I help to prioritize, and I'll even create a poster, right? Here's the marketing priorities. Here's what we're working towards. As distractions may come for the team, we really take a step back and we say, okay, got it. Let's talk about the outcomes for that versus the outcomes that we're intending to deliver and what will get delayed. And it helps to make a very educated decision in the business.
Okay.
And that's, I'm actually convincing myself that there's another big answer to what clients don't understand. And that's the level of um, what the distractions and the level of impact they actually have to the outcomes for the business that you were targeting from the get-go.
Okay. And then, okay, so you've been on stage for a while. Some intern is trying to signal you to like get off. Like, you were chatty, it turns out. And they're saying like, come on now, I'm gonna bring up the music like at the Oscars and stuff. And you're saying, but look, they're trying to move me off stage. But before I go, I'm gonna tell you this one thing. The most important thing you need to know about getting clients is what?
Build relationships. The most important thing for finding clients is build relationships. Those relationships are built on trust, and seeing how effective you are. But the relationships are what really matters, to be successful and get that next content or that next client or that next referral. Um, and then maybe last but not least, do great work, right?
Sure.
Document it, share
Right.
it, show your proof points, but relationships.
All right, good. Okay, so now you're off stage. You're going to go out. You're going to talk to people at the booths. You're going to talk to people milling around. There's a lot of prospective next clients out there. So you're having these sort of impromptu and some scheduled, you know how it works, right? But
Mm-hmm.
mostly impromptu conversations with prospects. As you're talking to companies who may become your next client, if everything went well, all right, on their side and on your side, what do they tend to underrate and overrate about marketing or the fractional CMO role?
Great question. I was actually at an event not that long ago. And so I am going to base my answer on
Yeah,
those actual conversations. When it comes to overrating, I had several conversations about, well, what are you going to do to come in and AI enable
right.
my organization, right? AI generated content, AI, name it, right? And it's an education on the fact that while AI can enable potentially faster work, you don't get the differentiation and you don't get the personalization
Right.
of you as a company and what you really bring to the table that's different from everybody else. That is what I would say
They're
I heard
overrating right
most.
now is AI and its
Yeah.
ability.
And there's a place for it, and it's
Oh yeah,
absolutely a powerful tool to truly be way, I don't know, twice as productive, more than twice as productive, but only if used right. Right. And so that's the key, is it's not
right.
just slapping, it's not I'm going to use my favorite AI engine to create a whole ad and campaign, right? You
Right.
have
What do
to
they
have the
underrate?
underrated. Um, I'm really, I would say talking to customers um, directly. One thing that I do when I go into these clients, if I can get the contacts, or I will pick up the phone and try to make the contacts, is what I'll call secret shopper, right?
Mhm.
I'll just call the customers and I'll ask them, what really struck you? Why did you engage in the first place? Or what's been the most impressive thing? What would you say is better about this tool, this product, right? Whatever it is that client is delivering that makes you stay, right? I'll ask them some different questions. And this comes into so many places, but it's understanding who the ideal client is, but it's also understanding that company and what they bring to the table that might really be something that they're overlooking in the first place. I think
I think
that's a big underrated element of what we do.
tell you something about since I introduced this question of being in the podcast of overrated and underrated. Uh, Almost every time someone's answer for what companies still underrate, if podcasts had existed in 1925 instead of 2025, and I asked someone the exact same question, they would give me the exact same answer. It's all fundamentals, and
Yeah.
it's the first thing forgotten. Know your customer, talk to people, you know, try
Yeah.
to sell what they want to buy. Right? It's not that hard, and yet it's probably the hardest thing there is. But it's almost always so fundamental. I was talking to, uh, he's been a CMO like 11 times, and a fractional CMO or interim CMO a bunch of times. Mostly works in private equity. And I said, like, how do you like find an agency if you like come into a client and they're not happy with their agency or they don't have an agency? Like, how do you find it? He says, well, I usually ask around, right? Ask people for recommendations. And I say, is that any different than how an agency got found 100 years ago? He says, not at all.
No.
Nothing changed.
Let me tell you an interesting story
Yeah.
that you've reminded me of. So I've done some public speaking over the years. And
Mm-hmm.
one question that I used to go in and ask at different contact center customer experience conferences is I would ask the audience, how many of you have walked in the shoes of your customer?
Mm-hmm.
And remember, a lot of the people in the audience are B2C, businesses
Yeah.
serving the direct consumer. And it never changed over 15 years of me asking this question. It was 10, maximum 15% of the audience would raise their hand and say, I know what it's like to do business with my company, right? What's the journey they go through? What are
Right.
the frustration points in that? Right. And so it's the same thing in B2B, right? What are my customers experiencing? Where are they having issues,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why do they like me in the first place? Do they like me in the first place? So it again back to the basics. And I just always find it interesting. And I've done it on webinars as well, right? Indicate, yes or no. Have you walked in the shoes of your client? And it's maximum I've ever seen is 20%. It's not gone up or down. It's varied, depending on probably.
Eternally underrated.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely.
And then as you're talking to prospective clients, and you're the conversations moved a little bit further along to whether you'd be a fit or whether they'd be a fit for you. Like, what's a red flag and what's a green flag when you're talking to a prospect?
Red flag is where you can see conflict
Mm-hmm.
on even the first call, right? Or you hear it,
Right.
the CEO and the CRO, right? To me, that indicates you're walking into some politics, right? If you've got the CEO on the phone and he's like, look, I really want you to meet my CRO. I think, we're all going to be aligned. Green flag, I guess I would call it. But that is a big red flag, right? And then or if they're already kind of pushing on, well, here's how I want it done, right? Because then they're not going to get the benefit of the experience that I could bring to the table, right?
Right.
That another fractional CMO may be able to bring to the table. And so it's really, that's a key one. And then I have another favorite that was truly an example. And what I'll do when I start talking to these clients,
Yeah.
I'll say to them, look, let me ask you a few questions. Let's figure out if I'm right to work with you, right? If we're right to work together. And if not, I can probably refer to you to someone who can. But my favorite one is, hey, we need a fractional CMO to grow a local business. Somebody referred them to me for a discussion. Kind of started going through this discovery. Let's see what you need. And about 3 questions in to me trying to find out more about their business, it's that I got the question, so can you run our Facebook and LinkedIn?
Right.
And you can see the problem there, right? Social media is not a strategy, but
No.
not only that, that's not a fractional CMO. So I went through a few more questions and I referred them to someone who was what they were looking for. They were looking to create a social presence. They didn't have the intent. I've worked with them a little more to help them understand what a full strategy can bring to their business. But at this point, they were dead set on Facebook and LinkedIn. And so I connected them with a good resource,
Yeah.
right? A local resource. But that was a big red flag for me as
Yeah.
well.
Okay. And so we need to wind down. We're getting close to our time.
Okay.
These days, who should be contacting you, and what's the preferred way to do that?
Sure.
What kind of
Absolutely.
companies? What size? What problems or stage are they in?
Yeah. So, growth mode
Hmm.
is that seems obvious, right? But I would say most of the people I talk to, the founder, the CEO, I've stated I'm my niche is really that B2B SaaS. That
Right.
said,
Hmm.
marketing discipline is marketing discipline, right? But it's that owner, that CEO that knows that they need to drive further growth, and is ready to invest in doing that. And they know they have a gap. They're trying to wear the hat, but they have 10 other hats, and this is a full-time job in itself, right? Um, uh, the way most people view it. But really, what I would say is growth stage companies. I've worked with private equity. It's usually companies where I find the biggest benefit, maybe up to 50 million ARR. I'm working with one that's a little bit bigger than that right now. So it doesn't stop there, but that's a typical stage. And where they have the right product and solution, and they just need to know how to start taking a truly disciplined approach to the lead generation so they can hit those growth numbers. The other one that are really fun are where that CEO or founder is looking to exit in a few years. And so they're really looking to get things in line and manage everything across the departments, and the people are all on a unified front trying to make that happen. Those are really fun as well.
Right. And the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way to get
Like,
in touch
if
with
I'm a
me,
prospect, what's the fastest way for me to get a response?
fastest way, go to
Show up at your
LinkedIn.
house.
Yeah, you can come to my house. It's under construction, but you can come. Fastest way, go to LinkedIn. I have a book an appointment link right there.
Hmm.
And always happy to have a conversation, talk about what somebody's thinking about. Again, if I'm not the right person, I if I'm not the right person,
Yeah.
then I think it's important that we get you to the right person. And so I'm happy to brainstorm about that as well. But yeah, go to LinkedIn, book an appointment. It's Laura L. Bassett, all one word, on LinkedIn.
All right. Laura, thanks. This has been great. I loved it.
Dean, thank you very much.
All right. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.